I've lived in this neighborhood for over 8 years. When I first moved here, it felt like the kind of place where nothing bad could happen. The streets were quiet after 9 p.m., lawns were neatly trimmed, and people actually waved when they passed by in their cars. Kids rode their bikes in the cul-de-sac until their parents called them in for dinner. On summer evenings, you could hear the faint jingle of the ice cream truck. It was comfortable. Safe. Or at least I thought so. That night started like so many others. Me alone in the kitchen, unable to sleep. I'd been sitting on the couch trying to read, but my mind wouldn't settle. Eventually I gave up, padded into the kitchen in my socks, and set the kettle on. I remember the exact time because I glanced at the microwave clock. 12:43 a.m. outside, the street was dead silent. No cars. No wind. Even the neighbor's dog, who usually barked at shadows, was quiet. I slid the kitchen window open just an inch or two to let in some cool air. There's a faint hum from the streetlights out front, and sometimes I like listening to it. But that night, the sound that came in wasn't a hum, it was a snap. Like a small branch breaking under someone's weight. I froze, fingers curled around my mug. It wasn't loud, but it was sharp enough to cut through the stillness. My first thought was, raccoon. Or maybe one of the stray cats that roams the neighborhood. Still, I stepped closer to the window and peered out into the backyard. The porch light was off, but the moon was bright enough to outline the fence, the garden shed, and the little maple tree in the corner. Everything looked still. The kettle whistled suddenly, loud enough to make me jump. I poured the hot water over the tea bag, trying to shake it off. I told myself not to be paranoid, this was a safe area. But as I turned to leave the kitchen, my eyes flicked toward the neighbor's garage. Their motion sensor light, which always came on at dusk and stayed on all night, was dark. I don't know why that bothered me so much. Maybe because it had been there so long that I'd stopped noticing it, until it was gone. I took my tea to the living room, curled up on the couch, and tried to ignore the faint unease crawling up my spine. A few minutes passed. Then I heard it again. This time, it wasn't a snap. It was a slow, deliberate crunch. Gravel shifting under someone's weight. And it was close. I put my mug down and stood. The sliding glass door to the backyard was across the room. The curtains were half drawn, leaving just enough space for me to see a sliver of the yard. At first, nothing moved. Then, near the fence, I saw a shape. A person. They weren't moving much, just standing there. I couldn't see their face, not from where I was, but I could make out the shape of their shoulders and head. They were turned toward the house. Toward me. Fear hit me in a slow wave, followed by disbelief. This isn't happening. People don't just stand in your yard at night. I thought about calling 911 but hesitated. What would I say? Someone's standing outside? What if it was just a drunk neighbor who got lost? I took a step toward the door. They didn't move. I shut the curtains, locked the door, and went upstairs. My bedroom's at the front of the house, so I couldn't see the yard from there. I told myself that was a good thing. I lay in bed, listening for footsteps or the sound of the gate opening. But I heard nothing. Eventually, sometime after 2 a.m., I fell asleep. In the morning, everything looked normal. No footprints. No damage. The neighbor's light was back on. I convinced myself it had been my imagination. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. The second time, it was later, close to 1:30 a.m. I was in the kitchen again, scrolling through my phone. The window was closed this time, but I still heard it, the slow crunch of gravel. My chest tightened. I looked toward the sliding glass door. The curtains were shut, but there was a gap where the fabric didn't meet. Through that gap, I saw an eye. It was so close to the glass that the faint porch light reflected in it. Someone was right up against the door, watching. I froze, my phone still in my hand. My whole body went cold. I didn't breathe, didn't move. Whoever it was didn't knock, didn't try the handle, just stood there, watching. After what felt like forever, I backed away slowly. I went to the front door, grabbed my keys, and slipped outside. No shoes. No jacket. I got into my car and drove 3 blocks before calling the police. When they arrived, they checked the yard and fence. No one was there. No footprints. They said it was probably a prank. Kids messing around. I didn't believe them. That was 3 months ago. Since then, I've changed the locks, installed motion lights, and put cameras in the front and back. I keep the curtains closed at all times. For a while, it was quiet. I tried to go back to normal. But 2 weeks ago, the cameras started acting up. Sometimes, when I check the footage in the morning, there's a gap, just a few minutes missing. Always between midnight and 2 a.m. The system says there was no motion detected, but that's not possible. Because I keep hearing it. That faint crunch of gravel. And twice now, I found the sliding door lock turned halfway open in the morning. Last night was worse. It was just after 1 a.m. I was in bed, reading. I'd left the kitchen light on, the one over the sink. Something about not having the house completely dark makes me feel better. I heard it again, that same slow crunch of gravel. I got up and went to the top of the stairs, looking toward the back of the house. The kitchen light was off, and in the dark, through the gap in the curtains, I saw the faint outline of a head. Watching. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. I stood there, halfway down the stairs, until the shape slowly stepped back and disappeared into the black. I stayed up the rest of the night, lights on, checking the cameras every 10 minutes. This morning, there was no footage. Just a gap from 1:02 to 1:06 a.m. I don't know why I'm writing this down. Maybe because I know it's going to happen again. And I keep wondering, the next time I see them, will the door still be locked?